Now that we know how to do the policy stock issues, let's figure out how we apply that to these next three assignments. And so this will be covering how do we complete the town hall brief and the Tolman assignment. But first, I want to talk about the town hall discussion. And so again, as I mentioned for that particular one, simply to earn your 30 points, you're going to log into Canvas, you're going to click into our discussion when that discussion opens, and you're just going to follow the prompts. The prompts are going to ask you a series of things, and the only way for you to complete those series is by checking into the discussion a couple of times throughout the week so that you can ask questions of your peers, so that you can answer questions of your peers, that you can write at disadvantage, that you can show support, and that you can vote. And so that's going to be the way to complete that assignment. Next, what I want to do is go to the town hall brief and kind of walk you through that assignment. And then once we do that, then we'll move to the Tolman. So first, the town hall brief. That when we're writing this assignment, I don't want you to think of it as a traditional essay. That we are going to be writing this as a debate brief. A debate brief is mostly focused on finding evidence to support the arguments that you're making and not necessarily writing a lot of lengthy prose. And so this assignment does require writing on your part, but the vast bulk of the paper is going to be you providing direct quotations from evidence from your sources. Second, we are going to be following the Tolman model for this assignment. And so that means that we're going to be providing claims, grounds, and warrants. We've talked about that at the beginning of the semester. And so we're going to be following that model for this assignment. And then again, third, remember that as we're putting it together, we're going to be using the stock issue paradigm that we discussed in the previous videos in this as well. So first with your town hall brief is that you're going to write an introduction. That introduction should be about 6 to 8 sentences in length. And it should be a standard introduction, right? So you want to start with some kind of attention getting device or hook to kind of pull our interest in. You will want to discuss what your subtopic area is. Again, I am not asking you to solve all of the problems within the topic that I've given you, but I want you to pick one area within that topic and to try to focus your energy on that one. And so you're going to tell us what that subtopic area is. You are going to tell us why you've chosen that subtopic area. Why is it important to you? Why do you think it's special? Why do you think that we need to fix that area first before we move to other areas? In this introduction, you are not going to necessarily be explicitly saying the topicality of this paper is ... But in the introduction, when I'm reading it, I should be able to determine if, oh, this paper is within the topic, therefore it is fulfilling topicality, or, oh no, the student has not written on the topic, and therefore topicality hasn't been fulfilled. The second section of this paper will be the inherency. And so the inherency, I would like for you to write one paragraph. It should be about 4 to 6 sentences in length. It could be longer, obviously, but I want you to explain what the barrier is. What barrier do you need to overcome in order to solve the harms, in order to create your plan? And so I want you to specifically label, tell me, this is a structural barrier because, this is an attitudinal barrier because, or this is a trend issue because of X, Y, and Z reasons. So I want you to label and explain what that barrier is. I also would like for you to provide at least one source, one piece of evidence that supports why this barrier is there and why it needs to be removed. Third, it will then be the harms. And so again, remember, your job is to present 3 harms in the situation. And for the harms, that's where we're going to be following the Tolman model. And so you're going to write a claim. And so your claim should be 1 sentence long, providing an opinion a take on the topic. Then two, you're going to be providing two ground statements. In this case, your ground statements are direct pieces of evidence. I want direct quotations coming from your sources supporting the claim. I don't want to hear your voice at all in the ground statements. And so we know that you can cite evidence by direct quotations or paraphrase statements where you're summarizing the evidence in your own words. I don't want any summary at all. I want you to cut and paste what you've read in an article or what you've read in a book, and I want you to plop it directly into those ground statements. So that's really important. Remember that when you are providing evidence in the ground statements that you want to be providing an oral in-text citation. And so we've talked about what oral in-text citations are. You've done that for your choice persuasive speech. So for example, again, just remember that if you are citing evidence from a book, an academic journal article, an interview from now an expert in the field, then you want to give us the name of the person, the title of the work, maybe some of their qualifications, some of their background, and the date in which that information was published. If you're citing information that's coming from a book, or excuse me, if you're citing information that comes from a newspaper or a magazine or an online article, then you're going to simply tell us the title of the publication and the date of the publication. So remember those two things when you're providing your ground statements, but it's incredibly important that every single ground statement, you tell me where your evidence is coming from. Then finally, you're going to write a warrant. A warrant should be 2 to 6 sentences in length, simply just telling me, explains the evidence and how it supports and justifies your claim. When you do this step, provide a claim, ground A, ground B, and a warrant, that counts as one harm. And so you'll need to do this 3 times for the 3 different harms. So it'll look something like this. You're going to give me harm 1, claim 1, ground 1A, ground 1B, warrant. Harm 2, claim 2, ground 2A, ground 2B, warrant, and the same for harm 3. And so this is where we step away from English writing and we start to use our debate writing format. After the harms, then you will provide your plan. And your plan is a very short part of the paper. You're just going to simply tell us what those steps are of how to solve for your harms. And so your mandate, what are you going to do? Your mandate could be only a couple of sentences, maybe 2 or 3, or depending upon the steps and depending upon the severity of the harms, it could be quite lengthier. So that's completely up to you. But I need to read the mandate and know, okay, yes, I can definitely see it tackling these problems. And so that's why it's really important that you're specific within your mandate. You then are going to give us your agent of action. And again, you're just going to say U.S. Congress because we are play acting as Congress members in this assignment. You will then give us your agent of enforcement. And for that one, again, you're just going to tell us what agency will be enforcing your plan. If you are creating a new enforcement agency altogether, then you will need to not only tell us what that new agency is, but then write a short justification for why you've chosen to create a new agency rather than using the existing structures that are already there. And then finally, you're going to move on to your funding. And your funding will just simply tell us how much it will cost to pay for this plan, or again, the steps that you're going to take to generate money for the plan. After that, you're going to write 2 advantages, and then remember that advantages are just the benefits of passing the plan. And again, the advantages are going to follow the Toulmin model. And so for that one, you're going to just give me advantage 1, claim 1, ground 1A, 1B, warrant, advantage 2, claim 2, ground 2A, 2B, warrant. So pretty simple and easy to kind of put together.